All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Cardinals player profile for the 2024 season. Today, we're going to be talking about Giovanny Gallegos. That's a guy that Andrew is not super high on. I, on the other hand, am a Gio supporter. So, Andrew, let's hear your opinion first. What do you think about Gio? What are the narratives surrounding him? How are Cardinals fans feeling about him entering the season?
I mean, the narrative around Gallegos is that he's just terrible. I don't buy into that. He did have a pretty bad year last season. I don't think he's completely terrible. I just think when like the lights shine brightest, when the high leverage is on, he just doesn't seem to have it. And I don't know if that's because I didn't like watching him when the pitch clock wasn't a thing, and he would just take like 25 seconds to throw the ball, and it was always just a pain to watch him take the ball.
He's a slow
But
guy.
yeah, and I don't know if that's what caused his struggles last year, and he's like starting to adjust to it. But I just am not sold that he can get the job done in high leverage. It's like you said, like you've mentioned this a lot. If he's bad, then he's really, really bad, and he's going to cost you the game. And there's a 3 batter minimum now, so I just don't know if you can afford to throw him in high leverage anymore. If there's like a 30% chance that he just completely blows the game. The other 70% of the time, he'll get it done, he'll shut it down. But like if there's a 30% chance that he just gives up 3 home runs, I don't really want that, especially with the minimum in place. And I don't think Ollie seems to know that. I think he seems to just let him ride, which you know that can be our own discussion on whether or not he's managed correctly. But I think sometimes like when he's a liability out there, it's just really bad. And I'm not convinced that I want him in high leverage. He can be a solid like long man option, kind of fill in the innings when we need to because he takes the ball every day. That's something that we hear about Gio. But I don't think I would be comfortable having him in the eighth or even the ninth inning. Like if Helsley has something going on, he can't throw today, then I'm not. Gio's not the guy I'm penciling into that bullpen.
You know, I hear you, and I just disagree. I think Giovanni Gallegos is good. I think if you look at his numbers, nobody in all of baseball has appeared in more games than Giovanni Gallegos. Relievers, not position players, has appeared in more games than Giovanni Gallegos dating back to 2019. Since then, Gallegos has appeared in 66 games where he gave you 74 innings. And 2019 is by far his best season. I'm not saying that he's still that guy. But 66 games, 16 in the shortened season, 73 in 2021, and then 57 and 56 the last 2 years. That is so valuable. That's a guy that you can literally Sharpie in and say he's going to give you about 60 innings, maybe more. That's really not a lot of bullpens have more than one or two guys like that. And the Cardinals have a couple this year, which is really encouraging. So that's something I like about Gio. Also, his peripherals got worse last year, but they didn't get that bad. He was really held back by the home run problem that he had. And it's a clear spike, right? So last year in 2022, 6 home runs in 59 innings. This year, in only 55 innings, he gave up 11 home runs. So his home run rate basically doubled year over year. But his walk rate came down. His strikeout rate dropped, but only a little bit. It wasn't super far away from his previous stuff. His hit rate went up a bit, but that's kind of weird with relievers. His FIP was actually lower than his ERA. He got unlucky. So these are all things that I think are important to note when talking about Giovanni Gallegos. You're right, Andrew, that he does. Like when he's bad, he is really bad. But I don't think it's a 30% chance that he's going to be bad. I think it's a lot less than that. He might lose you a couple games, but every reliever loses you a couple games in a season, right? Like it's just how it is. Ryan Helsley loses the Cardinals a couple of games every year. Last year, Helsley gave up that home run to, was it Blake Sabol and the Giants or whatever? That was brutal. Horrible backup catcher. It is what it is. Alex Reyes had a season where he started, I think that was 2022, where he literally was like 2021. You're right. He was the best closer in the league in the first half, and then had like an outburst against the Cubs where he gave up 6 runs. I was in attendance, and it made me very sad. But I like Giovanni Gallegos for this year. I think the clear benefits are he takes the ball every day. He has real closing experience, and he's a guy that Andrew thinks curls up and hides when the lights get bright. But I disagree with that. He has 44 career saves. He's got 16 career wins, only 20 losses. It's not like he's losing more games than he's winning. I'm a big Gio supporter. I think he's going to bounce back this year. I think the narrative that he's cooked is a bad narrative. All right, let's kind of get into our worst, best case scenario. Andrew, You obviously believe that he's going to be closer to what I think is a worst case scenario. So you take it away.
I mean, the worst case, like relievers are so volatile.
It's
Worst
true.
case scenario, he's completely unplayable. He's like Brett Cecil. I don't really think we have to. I don't think we really have to go much into depth. I think that's the worst case with all of these relievers, except like maybe Helsley, who like is just a special reliever and completely different. But yeah, honestly, he's getting up there in age. I think this last year of his deal. Worst case scenario, he gets DFA'd. I know that might sound lazy, but I mean that's kind of the case with all these guys.
I actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I think the worst case scenario for Gallegos is that his year looks like it did this year because Giovanny Gallegos is one of the few relievers in baseball that, at least for a time, escaped the reliever volatility problem. By that, I mean, like you said, relievers are good some years, they're bad some years. Giovanny Gallegos had just given the Cardinals 4 straight seasons with an ERA plus over 120, and he was over 130 in 3 of those seasons. That's a guy who you could pencil in, you could Sharpie in and say, he is good. This guy is good this year. And I think that Giovanni Gallegos gets back to that before he gets worse. I really can't see him being worse than last year. Basically, everything worked against him. He developed a fairly severe home run problem and was still a valuable arm last year, still produced like a .5 worse season. That's still a guy you want in your lineup, or in your bullpen. I think the absolute worst he could be, maybe a little bit worse than last year. Also, he does have a team option for 2025, so it's something we shouldn't overlook. I can't see the Cardinals DFAing a guy who just is so valuable in terms of innings pitched, volume. Uh, anyway, best case scenario for Gio, I think best case scenario is he gets real all-star consideration. I know we say that with a lot of guys. It might be a lazy way to put it. But let's talk about a bounce back where he's got a 130 ERA plus. If he's doing that at the break and the Cardinals are a good team, he would get looks at being selected to an all-star bullpen. I don't think he's going to get a chance to close because of who the guys have in front of him, or because of who the Cardinals have in front of him. But I think there's a real chance he's a very valuable reliever.
Yeah, I feel like best case. I mean, obviously not all star. He's never been an all star, and he's been really good in the past.
He should have been one
So
in 2019. Best reliever in the
yeah,
league that year.
all 7 of them. Sorry. So I think we can see him bounce back a little bit. Fangraphs Zips projections probably about where I see him, like probably a little bit like low threes. I feel like is where I see Gallegos at his best. If Ollie wises up and pulls him when he walks 3 batters, and lets someone else come in, then maybe his ERA won't be super high. So I feel like low 3 is probably where I see him. High leverage, I start to trust him again. That would be nice. And honestly, I don't know. He's not cooked, but like he's not going to be what he was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to replicate his 2019 season. That was just special. One of the better runs the Cardinals have seen out of any reliever in the last 15 years. But I think there's a really good shot he resembles the guy he was in 2021 and 2022. And I think for the whole Cardinals bullpen, that's a huge deal because you're now going to have Ryan Helsley closing, and no one's going to take that away from him. He's one of the best closers in all of baseball. But after him, you'll have this depth now that's created with Giovanni Gallegos, Jojo Romero, Keenan Middleton, Andrew Kittredge. There's a lot of depth on this team, a lot of guys with real closing experience and real closing potential. And when Giovanni Gallegos is your fourth reliever, you have one of the best bullpens in baseball. Hopefully, that's how it is for the Cardinals. So, you got anything else to say before we close this one out, Andrew?
Yeah, no, because Giovanni Gallegos isn't going to be closing any of them out this season, is he?
It's tough. Andrew, Giovanni's biggest hater, me, the biggest supporter here at New News. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to another Cards Player Profile. We'll see you next time. Make sure on the way out to like and subscribe.